Odysseus, the Epic Myth of the Hero. Book 14. Our spies now went among the Trojans, working in their groves and fields, and worshipping at rural shrines, and spread the rumor that the brave Achaeans sickened of the war, and made to sail for home the moment that the wind and current favored passage off that bloody beach, and that they left behind a monument of worshipful thanksgiving to bright Athena. Agamemnon, first among the first, set fire to all his tents dug in the sand, and slaughtered 90 bulls to Zeus, and worried just how many ships of brave Achaeans would return from laying in wait to topple Troy by my device, or, once at sea, how many might begin to yearn for home, turn their backs upon their comrades. The army that had sailed with trailing winds unto that beachhead 10 long years before, so full of warlust, upon that dreary dawn departing, then rode the weary distant to the lee side of the Isle of Tenedos, and waited for our signal. And now we 50 silent brotherhood encased ourselves inside the wooden horse, no armor, bearing only short leaf-shaped blades of bronze, and waited in the utter dark without a whisper. Then a trick devised by skilled Epeius spared us madness and continual gloom, for with the dawn 2 shafts of sunlight entered at the eyes of lapis lazuli, and the flanks grew rosy red with sun where the wood was shaved as thin as doeskin. We sat and smelled the smoking ruins of the tent and grand pavilions that the army left behind, our ears at pains to hear the Trojans coming, while we sweated in the dank and reddish weird dark, breathing deep each other's fear. We heard the Trojan host approach as all their women shrieked for joy, and when they reached the wooden horse, every child and man and woman, young and old, danced around it in a massive foot-stomping circle, singing paeans of thanksgiving to the gods. Suddenly the tenor of the joyous voices changed, and people started calling down the wrath of Zeus as if it had been a snake been discovered in their midst. And so it had, for Sinon had been found in chains, well whipped, and cowering amid the ruin. Sinon, kin of mine, and spy to spread the rumors pertinent unto our purpose. Deep inside the wooden horse we heard each word he spoke to answer Priam's questions and commands. You ask me who I am, and bid me speak each word I know about this wooden horse. I, too, am victim of Achaean treachery. My name is Sinon, born and bred upon the same small island as Odysseus himself, beautiful Ithaca, farthest to the sunset of them all in Aeon's sea. His mother and mine are sisters, though you'd never guess I am his kin, so dirty has he done me. This said, and at the mention of my name, a hateful murmur rippled through the crowd, along with cries to kill the captive outright. Pride and terror gripped my heart as Priam bid my spies say on just what he knew. He spoke just as I'd coached him. The rank and file of bold Achaeans sickened of endless war, and started agitating for one last frontal charge to take the walls of Troy, or, failing that, hoist sail for home. Our leadership was as divided as when we first set foot upon this bloody beach so long ago. Then suddenly Agamemnon swooned while banqueting and vomited as if he'd taken poison. Rising, he announced that come dawn, he'd sail for home and leave to Priam, Troy, and all its riches, for Father Zeus no longer favored us in our endeavor here. The rank and file now cheered and wept, one part for joy and one for shame. But every heart was lightened at the prospect of a life of peace at home, and seeing loved ones once again, and all ambition was abandoned. Yet at that point, the seer Calchas chose to speak another doom-filled prophecy. because Athena was still angry at our failure there to capture gold-filled Troy. The brave Achaeans must perform another sacrifice to gain a favorable wind. Now lots were drawn, and devious Odysseus rigged the draw, and I, the one who helped him murder great Palamedes, and knew his dirty secret to the core, was chosen out from all the rest to die to raise the wind and satisfy the goddess, and hide his guilt forever. I would swim the river Styx to knife his guts, for here he left his kinsmen all alone to face a world of hard-bitten enemies. He'd used a false belief in God to try to murder me, but I escaped his hateful tricks and hid while every hand was made ready to depart. All sides against me. Priam, king, I beg you speak, and say you'll take me, Sinon, as your suppliant. This said, and Priam called for calm and spoke these awestruck words. I've never seen a work the likes of this gigantic horse. It cannot be of any hands of skillful man, for not a single joint or seam between the planks can be detected by the naked eye. To which dear God that lives at ease on Mount Olympus is this resplendent carving dedicated. Thoughts of dread Athena fill my heart and mind. Complete your story, Sinon, and say you'd be my suppliant. Or rather, are you here to work us woe with wily words? Sinon groveled piteously on his knees and fairly wept his lies. The speech of kings is life or death. Believe me, Priam, let my wounds from whipping be the testament of my true word. Your mind is full of Trojan cleverness, for all is as you guessed. This wooden horse is dedicated to Athena as an offering of peace and sunny weather sailing home from weary war. Priam once again commanded silence, saying, Never have I seen a thing that stirred me so, not even when I first laid eyes on Helen, Aphrodite's ruinous gift to Troy. And so I'll have this thing of wonder, even if I have to raise the walls of Troy to get it in the city. There I'll cover it in gold, so it will last forever as a monument to Trojan combat arms. Reminder down the days that Troy will never fall because her people know the price the searing, because her people know and pay the searing price of freedom. Hurry now, and let gigantic logs be fashioned into rollers. Let 1,000 men with ropes now haul this wonder to within the safety of our walls. Let it be placed where I can see it from my throne, so I can weep in memory of Hector, for all the other sons of Troy who died in the war. The time has now returned to live in thanks. Praise be to all the gods who have forgiven us. This said, a priest of musical Apollo stood before the host and raised his arms for silence. Then perceptive Laocoon was flanked by his sons. He got outside his vows of celibacy. Melanthus, face of blackness, and prophetic Antiphas, Apollo's priest, now spoke these sour words. Just how can lies seem clear and beautiful as truth, when plans are well laid out against a people desperate to believe? The truth is only to be realized and not much subject to the will of man. From plowman to the greatest king of all, there is no truth to this great wooden horse. I fear Achaeans most when bearing gifts, and who can say just why it is so large? Can this filthy dung-eating Achaean? Sinon answered just as I had schooled him. It is the size of gods to stop you bringing it within your walls, for Calchas read the flights of crows and gulls and learned from bright Athena that if you slight this sacred offering, ruin will be yours. But if you give it pride of place within your walls, the house of Priam shall be masters of the world, until a shining power from beyond the pillars of Hercules rises in the west 100 generations hence. Now aged Priam spoke these wrenching words without my valiant son, astute, soft-spoken Hector. I cannot see such glory for my house. And then grim Deiphobos, Hector's little brother, eldest living son of Priam, keeper of the beauty Helen, now called for all to hear his words. The king has sons still yet alive that merit such a destiny, and who can say what I may yet produce with Helen as elaboration of your seed? The genius of your eldest son is not an odd occurrence. Our line is famous for producing such. Let the royal house of Priam rule the world. For what God-fearing other reason did we fight the bloody war? This said, and fey Laocoon let go a scream as though a spear had pierced his guts. My king, you must perceive the hook inside this bait. It smacks of devious Odysseus. And now we brotherhood of war inside the gloomy wooden horse barely dared to breathe, and sunk our teeth into our knuckles, just as though we'd woke to find a poison viper coiled around our genitals. Epeius, right beside me, could not hold his sobs in check, and so I clamped my hand upon his mouth and kissed his cheek to comfort him. Only later, from some captives, did I come to know what passed outside exactly. Sounds of struggle filled my ears and made me wonder if the Trojan host were fighting, father versus son, and then a dreadful thud resounded on the horse's wooden flank. Just one man passed, gibbering Epeius. In the dark, I stretched my hand to feel, but only jabbed my open palm on something sharp. The only thing I knew was warty Helias had been killed. The spear had come from zealous Laocoon. It burst the wood, where it was both the thinnest and reddest, passing into poor Helias, where his skull was set upon his spine. The leaf-shaped bronze cut through the vertebrae, drove straight up the brain, and burst out through the nose. Helias died before the wooden horse stopped humming from the blow. Now perceptive Laocoon had his final say. And now you see, I've taken matters here into my own red hands. The wooden lie that Agamemnon left to bring Troy down is violated. If this act be sin in God's great eye, then let destruction from on high rain down on me and mine. If nothing happens, then we'll know this wooden horse is nothing sacred to Athena. This said, and Priam spoke the words that only gods and kings may speak. If any here among you love me, kill this man and both his sons to rectify this blasphemy against the goddess, bright Athena. A score of Trojan valiants rose to serve their king's command and hemmed Laocoon and his boys inside a hedge of bristling bronze. Melanthus, face of blackness, spoke these anguished words. My father, now you've gone and got me killed. How can you know the things you claim to know? Antiphas, a prophet like his father, said, Be silent now, my younger brother. It's time for us to leave this world and to our baby sons and join our sire in death. There is no honor otherwise for us. Now sons and father backed into the lapping waves up to their mighty calves, when something from the sea revealed the wrath of all the gods that had abandoned Troy. For right out along the shore, not too far out, now swam a group of 3 sharp-finned black monsters with white patches on their cheeks. They swam in strict formation like a line of men that form a wall of shields, and where Laocoon and both his sons held out in shallow waters, they turned and rushed up on the beach and pushed a giant wave before them. The surging waters knocked the fighters flat, and as they struggled on their hands and knees, the wolfish killers sunk their teeth into their legs and wiggled backward out to sea, their victims waving helpless arms. And only one long spear cast from the shore, these monsters ducked and slapped their victims high in the air with mighty tails backlashing, till clear-eyed Laocoon and both his boys were dead and floated in their own dear blood, before the creatures ripped their hot and terrified raw meat right from the bone, the taste of fear spicing for their meal. The Trojans gathered at the beach now groaned and wept for terror. Priam ordered that the wooden horse be moved into his city, and every able hand now set to work. And once we began to shift and lurch toward Troy, Epeius could not stem his dread, and faithful to the vows I made the others swear, in this, our sacred brotherhood of war, I cut my own dear comrade's throat to stop him giving us away.